Botic von der Zandschulp. Oh my god, guys. Well, my predictions were completely wrong, but I would have never in a million years predicted that Botic von der Zandschulp, yes, that guy who could not win 2 straight matches the whole year, not only beats, he beats Carlos Alcaraz in straight sets, 6-1, 7-5, 6-4. No sweat whatsoever. Doesn't even celebrate. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Like the roles were completely reversed. What the hell just happened? One of the biggest tennis upsets of all time. And you will immediately jump on me and say, well, this cannot be a bigger upset than, I don't know, Rafael Nadal 2009, Robin Soderling, or Roger Federer, Sergei-Stakhovsky, or even Roger Federer, Andreas Seppi 2015 Australian Open, or something like Novak Djokovic, Sam Querrey, or Novak Djokovic, Dennis Istomin, or maybe even Rafael Nadal, Lucas Russell in a way, or Steve Darcis. I think that's a bigger upset than Lucas Russell, or even maybe Dustin Brown, or maybe even Andy Murray, Misha Zverev 2017 Australian Open. But my God, I mean, if you look at Carlos Alcaraz, he has, I think, like over a 10% higher win percentage on Grand Slams than in best of 3 matches, which is absolutely ridiculous, especially considering his age. He's basically a Grand Slam merchant at 21. I mean, I was convinced that Carlos Alcaraz could not lose, and I said this in my predictions. I was convinced that Carlos Alcaraz could not lose to anybody below a Daniil Medvedev. Like, he was not going to lose to Taylor Fritz, to, I don't know, Hubert Hurkacz, to even Grigor Dimitrov, to Alex de Minaur, to guys like that, Ben Shelton, Francis Tiafoe, whatever, in a best of 5. Like, he could be losing even 2 sets to none. It's not predictable, but quite plausible that he was going to drop a set. He was going to maybe lose the first set, like he did so often versus Tommy Paul or Francis Tiafoe or something like that. But my God, I was absolutely convinced that, Carlos Alcaraz just always has that gear. Like, he has that sort of big 3-esque Novak Djokovic throughout his career, Rafael Nadal on clay, Roger Federer throughout the big part of his career, sort of like extra gear that he can just turn on when it really matters, and he was going to always win. Well, I guess I mean, is this because of the Olympics? My God, I keep saying to you that the Olympics don't matter. It's an overrated tournament because half of the guys don't really play it. Half of the guys don't really, they don't really care about it. But I guess to the players who actually care about it, it almost like means more. It's actually really weird because half of the ATP sort of below top 10 wasn't even there. They could not even give 2 fucks about the Olympics. But I guess it really meant a lot to Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz, and one of them had to lose, and it was Carlos Alcaraz. And a month later, he smashed the racket for the first time in his career, and he just lost in one of the biggest, if not the biggest, upsets in tennis history, smoothly in straight sets, because all of the upsets that I previously mentioned, and you can argue which one was the biggest. I think actually Nadal Darcis, in my opinion, was the biggest. I'll analyze it a little bit later on in this video. But in every single one of those upsets, the guy who lost, aka the big 3 or big 4 member, at some point won a set. At some point you were like, okay, he's going to come back, and then something happened. This was just beyond smooth. I mean, the only time that Carlos was kind of on his way to make an upset or make a comeback was when he broke back in the 3rd set, but then he got broken back again, and then Botic just served it out smoothly, like nothing happened. Unbelievable. He was almost like apologetic at the end of the match. He was like, I shouldn't have played this well. I mean, what the hell? It's actually genuinely unbelievable. I will mention that Botic van de Zandschulp was the only player to win a set of prime Daniil Medvedev 3 years ago. So I guess he's quite good at the US Open. But my God, I would have never predicted this. And as I mentioned in my predictions video, I actually made an argument that Zverev is a tougher opponent for Djokovic than Alcaraz in the semifinal. But I said that it's more likely for Zverev to lose to something like Musetti, Fritz, something like that. And of course, as I mentioned, Alcaraz would have never lost to those type of players. Well, he lost to somebody a level below them. Well, okay. Is this the biggest tennis upset of all time? Well, you know, a lot of you will say Nadal Soderling simply because Soderling was the only mortal player until Zverev 2024 to beat Rafael Nadal on clay. Like, of course, Novak did it twice and now three times on the Olympics. I mean, clay, by the clay, I mean, of course, the French Open. But, Soderling, was a good player. I would argue that at his peak, he was probably top three on clay. He has wins over Federer and Nadal at the French Open. He's a former top five player, two-time Grand Slam finalist. Both of them happened at the French Open. And his career, unfortunately, ended in 2011, way too soon. So I would say that out of the all upsets, Robin Soderling is by far the best player. If you say some of Nadal's Wimbledon losses like Russell or Darcis, I would pick Darcis. And in my opinion, Darcis is the biggest upset out of all because Nadal was 44 and 0 versus, I made a video on this. He was 44 and 0 starting from Madrid until US Open, past US Open that year, versus players who were ranked better than Steve Darcis, and he was 0-1 versus Steve Darcis. He lost to the worst player out of the 45. He beat Novak Djokovic in hardcore multiple times. He won 2 slams. He won every single match. He won every single Masters. He won Toronto and Cincinnati and US Open back-to-back. That was absolutely peak Nadal, and he lost to Steve Darcis. Wait, he actually lost to Steve Darcis in straight sets, right? Yeah, he lost. Oh my God, yeah. Okay. Wow. So I think that's number one, and I will put Carlos Alcaraz at number 2, I think. Because Federer-Stakhovsky is a huge upset, and Stakhovsky was, again, outside of the top 100. But Federer had an injury excuse. Djokovic Querrey is a huge upset, but Querrey was a decent player, especially on grass. A serve bot on grass, it can be nasty even if you're a multiple-time Grand Slam champion. If he's on, he's on. And of course, Djokovic kind of had a post-Roland Garros burnout. He was probably happy that he won. He finally conquered the world. He finally won that French Open. So, you could make an excuse for that. Istomin-Djokovic 2017, the writing was kind of on the wall already. So yes, that's a huge upset. Yes, it's an Australian Open. But considering the way the whole season went, considering the prior loss to Sam Querrey, that's kind of acceptable. Murray, Misha, Zverev, again, considering the fact how Andy Murray's season went, that's kind of okay-ish. I mean, nobody would have predicted at that point, so it's a huge upset at that point, especially considering that Murray finally became number 1. But yeah, I think you could make an excuse for every single one of those upsets. This, I mean, unless you go by, I don't know, Botic van de Zandschulp being a US Open giant killer, I don't know what to say. I mean, I would have never predicted this. And maybe we went kind of too soon with the Carlos Alcaraz aura of invincibility. I mean, he won his first slam only 2 years ago, right? So he won 4 slams in 2 years. It's not a long period of time. It's not like Novak has been doing this for like 15 years. And then when somebody finally upsets him, you're like, wow, what the hell just happened? But my God, I mean, I would have never predicted this. Anyways, that side of the draw is now absolutely hilarious because Hurkacz also lost. So it's pretty much up for grabs. I think it's pretty much between Alex de Minaur and maybe Jack Draper to maybe even Botic van de Zandschulp to reach the semi-final. I mean, that side of the draw is completely wide open. And on the other side, it is most likely going to be, unless we have yet another big upset, it's most likely going to be Daniil Medvedev versus Jannik Sinner in the quarterfinal, which will be you have that expression final before the final. This will be the semi-final before the semi-final because they will meet in the quarterfinals if they don't lose prior to that. And the winner, jeez, I can't even talk anymore. The winner will be a huge favorite over the other semifinalists, and then of course in the final, probably Novak or Zverev. It will be interesting to see. So, guys, what do you think? I did a poll on this. What do you think? Is this the biggest tennis upset of all time? My God, I think this is easily top three. Jesus, wow.